I wish they were scoring more in the NHL.
Yes. Hey guys. So yes. I want to do. We're gonna talk a little bit. Russ has something to. I do have some hockey things that that are a little. I think going to be a little interesting. I don't know if Gritty's technically should be part of the hockey show or not.
No, please, not again.
If he wants to talk about it.
No, the only thing I want to say about it is like Russ and I were there last night, and Gritty is is not getting these huge responses that you would expect from based on there's definitely falling into just and then I thought about it. I'm judging this mascot and I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with me? Why am I even judging a mascot? Then I think to myself, when I go to other places, like I go to Nashville tons of times and I see Nash, the saber-tooth tiger. I just think that's a mascot. He's around, he does stupid things, and that's it. So I think Gritty is falling into normalcy of mascotting.
I didn't turn on the Flyers broadcast early to catch Gritty. I was pleasantly surprised to see Lauren Hart, who is as lovely as ever and as great a voice as ever, and hope that she sings for the next 20 years because she's great.
Yeah, she had talked to her for a long time.
The only thing I'll say about Gritty is he did have one part
who was as lovely as ever and as great as. Oh, got an echo here. And I hope that somebody's
sorry, I hit the wrong button.
Somebody's got it.
Mike liked her so much he said it twice.
You wanted to hear the point again. Yeah.
No, what I was going to say is there was a dance part where Gritty's supposed to get everybody fired up, and it didn't work.
It just didn't work. And I think the Gritty's got to settle into normalcy of okay, what a mascot really is, which is just a goofy thing walking around the building.
Yeah, there was a little too much, and I think they realized it, so we didn't see much of them.
They did to their credit. I went up to somebody who I've been talking to about, a big Flyer person I've been talking about Gritty to the whole time, and how wrong I was to him and saying, this is a huge thing, and I thought this was terrible, and it's not. And I went up to him, to talk to him, and the Flyers were, of course, getting killed. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And he just looked at me. He's like, I can't talk, and he left. Which is what happens when you're around a team, when they're getting killed 8-2.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anyone talking to you about anything at any time. So
all right. So here's my other pre-show. So we're gonna spare Mike the loss of the Red Sox Yankees, although there was a big mistake made in that game, but I'm gonna wash it over and let it go. Anyhow, I don't know what Mike just did. He signaled something to somebody, but we're gonna let that go too. But here's what the thing that bothers me the most now is wireless mice. The wireless mouse is you're supposed to let's say we use the Logitech world. You're supposed to have this unifying one that works with everything, right?
Yep.
And what you find is it really doesn't. Because if you got a keyboard that's just a little bit older than what your browser is, you can't use the unifier. So then
I did not expect you to go into wireless mice in this conversation.
Come on. Hold on. And if you want to go from computer to computer, it's even not working. And it literally takes me 10 minutes to get this thing back on track if I share it between computers, even though that's not supposed to be the case. I've got extra unifiers. None of it makes it easy.
Russ, I just have to say this. When I move my computer from my coffee table to the desk here to do the show, the wireless mouse is attached to it's a MacBook, or it's an Apple wireless mouse and an Apple computer. I move it from there to here. For some reason, it works over there, and I have to restart the computer when it's here to get the thing to work.
What the hell? I mean, we should have, again, I want to use the...
Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn, kids.
We could take pictures of Mars, and we can't get a wireless mouse that can go up the stairs and down the stairs. Come on.
All on a mouse's night.
No, my thing is, if we're going to go there, my thing is just the general dongle concept in general. I hate. I have so many dongles, I have no idea what they do. The only thing that exceeds dongles are power cords, which I have an unbelievable amount of power cords.
I got a bucket.
Everybody has a bucket of power cords. Everybody has it.
But you don't want to have to buy them, so you just throw it in the bucket.
But when will this point? I keep thinking one day I'm going to take everything I have that gets plugged in and every power cord I have and a labeler and just do this. But that will never occur. If I ever have that much time, I should just be shot.
By the time you do that, it'll all be obsolete anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. There you go.
Coaxial cable.
Peter, do you have anything you'd like to complain about as an old man today?
I was just going to say, I don't have wireless mice, wireless this, wireless that. Bluetooth is an imperfect technology. It works sometimes.
You're just anti-wireless in general.
but whatever. It's first world problems.
Yeah, Bluetooth. But there again. I listen to certain things on my phone, on my Bluetooth in my car, and for some reason, a brand new car, a relatively new phone, and all of a sudden the show that I'm listening to drops off of YouTube. I have to close it and reopen it to get it to listen. I mean, it's distracting. I'm going to get into an accident because of the friggin' Bluetooth.
The best part about that is my car is low tech, where I just have to plug in the iPod or whatever to listen, right? But Mike's isn't, and so Mike will start his car, and the show will start too. Like, and that's funny. You've had that, right? You've had that happen.
Yes.
I did see the movie A Star Is Born.
Yes.
And
thumbs up or thumbs down?
The new version.
Thumbs up. It was sad a little bit, but and everyone knows, like, so my wife and I have this thing that we do.
We know the story. Yeah.
We don't like sad movies. So what we do, my wife and I have this moment that when you're watching a movie and you're watching it and everything's going great, it's so happy, everyone's this is wonderful, I'm going through this wonderful ride, I'm feeling in a good mood, everybody's getting along and all that stuff, and you know that something, when it gets that good, something is horribly going to go wrong. We have this moment sometimes that we will just turn off the movie and say, that was great. Right before it goes wrong. Right before it goes wrong. That way we can enjoy our lives and say we just saw nice people falling in love, having a good time. And that's it. And then we don't need to see them hate each other. We don't need to see the running scene, which is the joke around our family. Every movie ends with a running scene, someone running to get somebody else. It is true, though. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Okay, but here's the big question. The big question is, if you're going Lady Gaga versus Streisand, who wins?
Well, that's not fair.
In terms of voice, or in terms of the
whole production, because they obviously got Lady Gaga because she could sing, and because apparently she could act, and Streisand.
Lady Gaga. I mean, no. I mean, it's not. It's not. It's like, saying,
All right, so we'll go.
I haven't seen the movie
versus, like,
I haven't seen the movie yet, but I can tell you from a professor friend of mine who teaches a course on American musicals. He thought the Streisand Star Is Born was terrible, and he thought this was great. So I'll take his word.
So Brad won than Chris Christopherson. That's not a hard bar to clear, by the way.
Here's the problem: Streisand was the wrong person for the first one.
Exactly.
And Chris Christopherson can do no wrong.
No,
right? Like he kind of lived the life that he played, anyways.
Well, I don't know, Peter. Convoy was a pretty. The movie Convoy was pretty bad.
It was bad.
Okay, whatever. He didn't write the movie.
He was from a culture where they celebrate Gordon Lightfoot. Come on, man.
You have a problem with Gordon Lightfoot?
Go there.
I don't.
Whoa.
He's a Canadian legend. He's a Canadian legend. Don't touch
song. Horrible, boring songs.
What? The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald? Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, that's
totally ridiculous.
That is fun.
Sundown.
Right before I drive off a cliff, I'll play that.
Yeah, Sundown's an amazing song. The song about the ship's an amazing. There, you're wrong.
These are not amazing songs.
I love Gordon Lightfoot.
These are amazingly depressing songs.
So what? Not everything has to be happy. Shiny, happy people. Bull crap. Let's start the show, please. Before I leave
Lady Gaga will win an Oscar for this. Mark my words. No question about it.
Who will?
Lady Gaga will win the Oscar for this. She is off the charts, amazing in it.
I think Sam Elliott's going to win for best supporting actor because he one of those career achievement award type.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, this will win a lot. This could
best
win.
Mustache. That's what it'll win for.
There's no question. Lady Gaga is a unique talent, albeit she's kind of she's an incredibly talented person, musician, artistic expressionist. It's just that she's not outrageously original. She's basically taken the best of Cher, Madonna, and what's her name? She was in the James Bond movie, Grace Jones, and recycled all their looks and ideas and commentary into a new age package.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Bravo,
That's accurate.
Well,
she's super talented.
She is.
That's her brand, is that. I agree, but you get beyond the brand aspect to just the flat out talent. And two of the people whose brands I'm not a big fan of that are incredibly talented are Lady Gaga and Miley Cyrus, who are both absolutely ridiculously talented. But you can give them any kind of music to do and they'll just kill it. But she is that. But as an actress in this movie and playing the absolute, her real hair, her no makeup, just completely her, she was amazing. So, but the most incredible thing about this movie, and we'll move on, was and this is not spoiler at all, was the previews of the movie and seeing the preview to the Queen movie that's coming up.
Oh,
Yeah, I agree.
That preview in a big theater with like really great sound. I've seen the preview before many times. It's amazing. But when you see that preview in a theater with great sound, you're like, geez, this is, it's like chills on top of chills. You gotta go see it.
He's going to get nominated for sure.
Keep me on long enough, I can complain about Brian May, but the thing is, I can never complain about Freddie Mercury.
That movie looks unbelievably good. I mean, it's going to be one of the best, like,
I was just looking at
trailers ever made. I don't know.
You know what the problem is if it doesn't, like, it could be an amazing movie and it could be the Pulp Fiction of music movies, because it's like where everyone gets robbed because something else came along that just.
Well, it could be like the Doors movie. The Doors movie was pretty good.
Yeah, and Val Kilmer was great as Jim Morrison.
He was great. I don't think he ever really got enough credit for that.
Yeah, he didn't get nominated.
No.
All right,
that was a very good movie. Another great Oliver Stone movie that gets overlooked.
Yeah. Very, very much so.
Yep.
This is I can't wait. It comes out in November, the Queen movie, but I don't know what's it called. Is it called Queen?
No, it's called Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, it was amazing. It was really something. All right, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Wednesday. Sorry, let me try again. Hello, Hockey World. It's Wednesday, October 10th, 2018.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Peter Tessier, offended up in Winnipeg.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and I feel bad. I have perfect weather, and the people in Florida near Cat 5 hurricane.
Yeah, I should have started. I'm Hurricane Michael.
Yeah. I know, isn't that great? I know, that's what I thought about too. Because I was like, we always have Hurricane Michael here.
Cat 5. If it gets to Cat 5, that's scary, man.
No, it's really scary. It's I just saw them on the TV. They said it's intensifying over land, which is crazy. Anyway, that's just how big it is.
We'll try and keep everybody.
Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody down there, and we mean that, in the most sincere way we possibly can, because it just stays safe. Hopefully everybody's safe. This is that area is never getting hit by anything like this, so it's craziness.
Well, go to the BB&T Center in Sunrise, because nobody will be there.
Yeah, right. I mean that's really far away from this.
I don't even know where to go after that one, man.
Okay. This is Tampa, but not even that. Anyway, I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. The podcast comes to you every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world, like the Yankees, for example, are going. Just kidding. But I wanted to start with the Winnipeg Jets home opener last night, Peter. And I was listening to this game driving back a little bit from the Flyers Sharks game, which is something that we will talk about as well. But it was the Kings hung around for a little while. It seemed like the Jets were just dominating this game, and it was close for way longer than it should have been, I guess.
Yeah, they did. And what happened in the game was I can't recall his first name, but Campbell, the goalie for the Kings, who stepped in to start for Jonathan Quick, basically he was putting on a clinic. He was stopping everything. He wasn't making like outrageously insane saves. He just wasn't letting anything get by him.
Peter, he's an amazing story, because I thought he was going to be a superstar goalie when he was winning gold medal after gold medal after gold medal, like in junior circuit.
Yeah.
Then he got lost for a little while, and then he won a Calder with Dallas, right, Mike? I think it was with the
Texas Stars.
Texas Stars, thank you.
Over the Jets farm team.
Right. And then I saw that he was sort of getting shuffled around, but the Kings are magical. And I'm telling you, again, I hate to use this phrase again too. When the Flyers got Kim Dillabaugh, I think they thought that they got the secret recipe out of LA, and they only got a part of it. They got the guy who knows the secret recipe, because the guy who is the secret recipe is still in LA. Because think about all the goalies they've revived, and so I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I know. Remember, they took a washed up Peter Budaj, put him in as a starter. Next thing you know, he's doing amazing. So yeah, the Kings did their thing. The Jets sort of, they tried to open up the lead. They just couldn't get it past Campbell. I think there's a bit of a, the opening goal of the game was from Kovalchuk, his first since he came back to the NHL. And I threw a video clip of it to make a point in the blog today, and it's the Kings broadcast. Oh, did they praise him for having the speed? Incredible. It was blown coverage by Mark Scheifele, who had just come on the ice, and Tyler Myers was sort of part and parcel of that. And the glowing praise for Kovalchuk was, if he hadn't have scored, that would have been a bigger problem. Like that. Yeah. That's how easy that goal was.
It was a nice tip. It was definitely a nice tip.
I think keeping praise on him because that's exactly what he wants. He comes back for that.
Yeah.
I respect the player as far as what he's able to do, but I don't respect what he tries to do. And that's like try and become like the best guy every time he comes back, or the most popular, I should say. And that just bugs me.
Yeah, Campbell was an 11th overall pick in 2010, and it took him eight years to really establish himself. I mean, he's going to get an opportunity now.
Can't miss, but goalies do take longer. We've talked about it. Sometimes it's 25, 26 years old.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's good for him. I mean, great for LA. They, like, look, there's probably a couple teams right now who would love to have a backup come in and play that way.
Well, they have Cal Peterson too in their organization, so they're not loaded, but they're pretty well off compared to some others.
Yeah. So I mean, as a game, Jets got back, sort of corrected some things they hadn't been doing well against both St. Louis and Dallas, and it was kind of fun to watch the Kings and play. And I think the venom for Tyler Myers is still out there. He didn't do himself as many favors last night, and I think there's some challenges with the defense, but the one question that is starting to rise in Winnipeg is he's on the first year of his new deal, 7 years, $6 million a year, the benchmark deal that people talk about that is going to be going up for Nylander and Marner is Nick Ehlers, and the Jets cannot find a way to get him going from a point of view of scoring goals. His goal scoring since I think April, it's like 2 in the last 32 games or something like that. It's insane.
Yeah.
And there's some concern about the lines. There's too much talent for him not to be going, but there's a problem. They don't like Stastny was the guy who was the straw that stirred his drink. And, he scored a lot of goals without Stastny, but that changed somehow. And there's a concern what's going on with how you're going to get the value out of Ehlers if you're not going to put him up with the right people.
Because this is something that I do say about Dave Haxtell all the time, is that he'll stifle creativity. John Tortorella does the same thing. You got to play my system. You got to play it right. So there's certain things you can't do. Ehlers is a guy that is very creative, and sometimes you do have to let him streak up the ice as well. Is he actually allowed to do that?
I think he is. He definitely leads the Jets in successful zone entries. He led them all last season, which is a valuable thing. You want to get the puck in the offensive zone. I think what's I chatted with someone today sort of offline, and they were saying that perhaps there's a little more understanding what Ehlers likes to do, and teams are keying in on him a little more, not giving him that room, and it's sort of on him to find a different way of being creative. And that could be sort of the knock here too.
Who is he playing with right now?
Well, he's played with a lot of people. It's been he was dropped down and he played a game with Roslovich at center, and they had Vesalainen. So it was Ehlers, Roslovich, and Vesalainen. Okay. And then they've had him back with Little and Laine. They've had him with Perreault and Ehlers. Last night was Perreault. They've tried all sorts of combinations other than breaking up the top line. And I know it's a hard sell to do, because why are you going to move Kyle Connor, Blake Wheeler, and Mark Scheifele away from each other?
All right, so let me ask you this, Peter. And this is, again, is something where I think somebody is getting away with something here. Patrick Laine, he's a -1. He's got 2 points, and he's only got 14 shots in 3 games. He should be taking 14 shots a game.
So he had 4 last night, I think, and which I made a comment. I made a comment last night on Twitter when I was watching Jets power play, because they had a lot of power play opportunities, and the puck wasn't getting to him. So in year 1, there's a belief that Byfuglien didn't like sending it across to him, and that he was kind of freezing him out. I don't think that's a Dustin Byfuglien kind of thing. I don't think Bufflin's a freeze you out kind of teammate.
No, I don't think so.
I think what it is the Jets, they're putting, the idea is that they've dropped on the first power play unit, they're putting Perreault or Connor, depending on who starts, down low by the goalie post, and they're trying to cycle the puck up and down from there. And the hope is that eventually you're going to find room for Laine to blast it. But I think teams are really keying in on it, trying not to let him. But Laine's played okay. He's done a little bit of his, I'm trying to do too much with the stick handling a bit at times. But he's just got to kind of simplify it a little bit and take a page out of Ovechkin and just rip the puck.
Yeah, he's a trigger man. He shouldn't be overhandling it.
Here's what I don't get. To me, what the power play should be is if you're going to do that stupid play where defenseman skates up, throws the puck behind, that next pass should go right to Laine and it should be a one-timer. That should be instantly, right away.
Yeah. Well, that I couldn't agree with you more on that stupid play aspect. I mean, I hate
let him fire a couple heaters and clear out the defense and let everyone know, whoa, you want to block this? Come at me.
You're under siege by someone who could shoot like Laine.
Are they still using him on the half wall on the power play? Because that was where he was like when I first saw him.
They've got him at the top of the right circle or the left circle on his offside. They're just not getting the puck across. And I think teams are trying to focus that. And again, that's got to go back to the point where you go and you watch every Capitals power play and how they move the puck with Ovechkin and how he gets there. That's what they got to watch because that's what you're trying to do.
They don't have Kuznetsov. That's the problem.
That's exactly the problem.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It was I think the Jets are taking explain this to me. This is what I'm confused about, Peter, because I heard about someone talking about this and I don't know what's true of this or not. But is there something or is this just a preseason thing? Is there something with the Jets playing different lines on the road than they're playing at home this year, or is hearing this whole thing?
So Paul Maurice mentioned in the preseason that he would look at different defense pairings based on home and road. Right. So the problem is they want to they started off with playing Tyler Myers on the left side to get him more ice time. It was a disaster. An outright disaster. Yeah. So then he thought, well, home and road, maybe I'll tweak some things because I think they want to find a way to get Sami Niku some time, but he hasn't said that. So he hasn't done it yet. Okay. But he's got Myers on his third pairing with Morrow. And in fairness to Myers, if you're trying to play this guy and use him for what you believe him in, he's not getting the ice time. But there's the pessimist side that says Tyler Myers doesn't need to be a Winnipeg Jet anymore.
Yeah.
And he might need it just might not fit for him with what's happening here.
And if you're trying to accentuate the positive and get him ice time to make him be more valuable as a commodity before the deadline, the worst thing that you can do is either play him out of position or play him on the third pairing where he gets 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin Cheveldayoff, hello. Kyle Dubas's number. I have it for you, folks.
Yeah. The fact that they can't even figure out, maybe they've talked and we don't know. Here's the other thing, and it's not my thought. It's a well-known guy in Winnipeg. His name's Rob Cleve. He's a really smart guy, tweets a lot. He made the point that if you're going to switch players and offside, and this was the whole debate with Trouba and Bufflin and everything on the right side, why wouldn't you put Buff on the offside? Because he plays he plays everywhere anyways, right? He's roving around. He's but they won't do it. You'll move him to forward, but you won't move him to his offside. It's a really funny situation. So as long as Myers is on the third line and there's issues, you're going to hear tons of speculation about him until something's done.
But is it part of it just because they know he's the guy that's probably out? So now everybody's just sort of done with him. He's still a pretty good player. Yesterday, we're talking about a 2-1 game. We're not talking about.
Right, but that's my point, Russ. It's you would think that if he's the one out, that you want to put him in positive positions to make him look more valuable to other teams. And what Peter's describing is sort of misusing him, and that doesn't do him any good, and doesn't do the Jets any good if they're.
So here's the thing: in Dallas, he was on the ice for 4 even strength goals against, 2 even strength goals against, 2 power play goals against. Last night, he took a penalty with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left, so the Kings could go 6-on-4 with the empty net. He's not doing himself any favors.
Okay.
And I think Tyler Myers is a better player than what he is.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's for what he's being paid and where he's at. That's not the way of using a second, a guy in his situation. And let's not forget, the Jets have $4.2 million sitting in the press box with Kulikov right now.
Right. Yeah.
So
that still might come in handy first injury. Like, so
And,
you,
and he's a lefty. He's a left shot.
lefty,
So.
and they'd rather play Joe Morrow, and Morrow and Myers do not work together.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I'm really
bad.
shocked. Like, Joe Morrow's an interesting one because he was another highly touted rookie. I
Yeah.
think he was a first rounder. And he is one that took a while, and now he's become really steady. Really.
Yeah.
And it's just, I would have thought he'd have been steady all along, but it took him a while to get there.
Takes a while with defense, you know.
Yeah.
We can get back to the last night's games because there's a couple interesting
Yeah,
stories.
one more thing before we get there, Mike. I do want to get to them. But
Okay.
there is a breaking thing going on right now. That was just sent to me via text that Ryan Kessler might play tonight.
Oh,
Which is kind of shocking. Like, you know,
It is shocking, actually.
I mean, you know, the Ducks are saying he hasn't been medically cleared yet, but that could come later today.
Right.
And the best way to describe his status is that it's a game time decision tonight.
Yeah, that's shocking, especially since we heard all the talk during the summer that he might miss the season.
Right. And now suddenly he could be playing tonight. It's a little strange. We'll find
And it's not like they're 0-3 and there's panic in the streets in Anaheim. They're 3-0. They've been surprising. So it's I mean, if he's on track to start tonight, that's one thing. But
then I'm sure like Isaac Lundestrom is out. That's probably what'll happen.
right.
Yeah. So so anyway, that's that. I do want to get into we got to get into the Maple Leafs for a second too, because
Well, I don't know why it took this long, really.
they are a remarkable story right now, and the fact that Austin Matthews and Morgan Riley have each have 10 points in 4 games.
Yeah,
pretty staggering, and the fact that they've scored 20 goals and 13 have come from either Tavares or
I'll give you a couple even.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of the 20 goals they've scored, 18 of them have been with Matthews or Tavares on the ice. Only 3 of the goals have been scored by anybody other than Marner, Riley, Matthews, or Tavares. So right now it's the core guy doing it all.
So here's the thing. So
As we want.
On another podcast I do called Stick to Hockey, I was asked, and both me and Jason, the host, we did picks for postseason awards, and I picked Austin Matthews for the Richard, and I picked Tavares for the MVP and for the Conn Smythe, and not Conn Smythe, the MVP, the Hart. Brain's not working. Worked too hard today. So for the Hart, and actually, I think that is the way it's going to work out, because I think Tavares is going to make him so much better that people will realize how much better Tavares is making him, and he won't get penalized because he's a second great player on the team. He'll get elevated because they'll realize, wow, this is what he could have been in the island all these years, except for maybe 1 year.
I have to say, I didn't think it was possible for Austin Matthews to get better than we've seen in the first 2 years. But you have to remember, he was 19 when he started. He's 21 years old. He's gotten stronger. He's gotten faster. His shot is more powerful than it was as a rookie. I mean, the one goal that he scored last night, the shot where Kapanen set him up, he was sort of off balance and falling away, and he blew it by Ben Bishop like he didn't even see it. He's just, I mean, right now he's just been, I mean, he's got 7 goals in 4 games. He's scored at least 2 points in every game. He's dominant. And the thing is that, again, I think this is going to affect negatively the William Nylander camp, because
absolutely, zero leverage, zero.
Yeah, as soon as they put Kapanen on that top line, and it's sort of like you put anybody with a superstar and they're going to benefit from it. And Kapanen, I think it was like 59 games previous in his career, he had 2 assists. In the last 2 games, he's had 3 because he's got Matthews finishing. That's why.
The Leafs are smart enough to know that you do need the extra depth of having someone like Nylander and Kapanen around to get to the Stanley Cup. But the Nylander camp has to be smart enough to know that in another couple of weeks, the Leafs can make an ultimatum and literally say, come back or we're trading you because we don't need you.
Well, I see. That's the thing. I don't think that they will trade him as a RFA in a contract impasse, because that's the lowest value that
sign and trade. They will sign.
Yeah, you know what? Who's his agent?
Louis Gross.
So you just get the agent talking to teams. You do the Alan Walsh thing. That I don't see that as a problem. I just see it as a problem is that Dubas has to give the agent a list of teams of who he wants from those teams. That's the thing. And it's going to, and the team that's going to be on there is someone with a top pairing right-hand D.
And that guy, I know that you reported, I think it was last week, about, you know, teams making inquiries, and I don't doubt that that's happening. I'm sure it is. But the thing about the list that I was curious about is the team, like the only team that had a defenseman at a level that the Leafs would be looking for, I think, was Anaheim. Every other team, you know, Cody Ceci is not going to do it for William Nylander. Anybody from the New York Islanders is not going to do it for William Nylander. They want a top 2 or top 3 defenseman.
Yeah, but you can't get that right now because.
Well, I think that they'll just say, okay, you know, we're gonna, you know, the compromise is a bridge deal. And I think that there's still a good possibility that they get him to a 2 or 3 year bridge deal. And then I think that the Nylander camp has to realize that the position that they put themselves into is that they've put him on the pathway of being dealt out of Toronto, because based on what Marner's doing and what Matthews is doing, Matthews is going to at least make as much as Tavares. Marner is going to probably make $8 to $8.5 to $9 million on a long-term deal. They won't be able to afford Nylander asking for what he's asking now.
And the problem is Nylander wants his money now because he knows that he won't get as much as those guys anyways, particularly if he waits. So, I mean, it's better to get out.
Just think about this. The Leafs are at game 4. By next Thursday, they're at game 8. He's going to miss 10 games easy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, are we in a little bit of a risk here of like getting too ahead of, like, you know, just because the Leafs are just scoring like crazy right now, and they're
going to have a good offense all year, Rick. They will.
They're going to have a good offense all year, but I mean, it feels like people are just willing to like just whatever, you know, with Nylander. I think
it's the fact that right now, and you have to specify right now, we're talking only 4 games, we're talking 1 week into the season. Right now, they don't miss him.
Yeah, but that is right now, and there's a lot of teams like right now, you know, we've talked about this. Like some teams are doing incredible. Like right now, the Carolina Hurricanes haven't lost a game. You know, like there's things.
They scored 17 goals. Who saw that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But you have to. I think that this is really early to get cocky on the Nylander thing. It feels like.
I don't think they're getting cocky. I think they still want to get him. This is a perfect example of sort of asset management. If you sign him to a long-term deal and the amount is more than what is a good value, A, if you keep him, it's going to hurt you on the cap, and B, if you try to trade him, it's going to hurt you because the amount is too much. If you get him on a reasonable deal, like $6.5 million for 6 years, sort of close to Ehlers and Pasternak, then he's valuable to them as a controllable asset to keep or to trade. And the same thing with the bridge deal, although with the bridge deal, you know, 2 or 3 years down the road, he's going to expect to get his $9 million, and probably the Leafs aren't going to be in the position to do it. But at least when he gets a deal done, there's going to be more value there as a player holding out. And I know it's not a holdout, but I'm saying as a player not playing and not signing a deal, he's at his lowest value. So the first thing the Leafs have to do one way or the other is get him signed.
I many times I support players in different situations. I thought some of these made sense. This one makes no sense. I think it should have ended already. It should have ended yesterday. Like, it's just, I think he's in the wrong, and I think he's just piling on it at this point. And whether it's his father's bad advice, his agent's bad advice, it's somebody's bad advice. But at this point, there is no benefit to him holding out anymore, other than you're going to get maybe an extra $1 million out of it for 2 years of a deal. Because now instead of a long-term deal, you'll get a 2-year deal.
Or you force the hand and go someplace else and recognize that there is no future here in terms of you having a long-term contract.
In another week, there may not be.
But I think what we don't know is there a future for William Nylander if he takes a bridge deal and then you have to pay Marner and Matthews, and then you have to get a defenseman.
Well,
the Leafs have cap space now.
We're guessing no, but we don't really know because you don't know what happens in future plans.
Right. I mean,
goes up. Maybe the cap goes up enough that they could fit him in. Like
either that, or, you know, if he only scores 60 points like he has the last couple years,
Mhm.
And yeah, but let me move on to a couple things. New York.
That's the other point. Actually, Mike, you bring up a good point. So by the time he gets in here, if he plays, let's say 70 games, 72 games, he's going to score less points. Like it's
but you're going to take his rate, points per game and points per set.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I don't know if that counts as 70.
And you don't know whether Babcock is going to put him back with Matthews if Kapanen is succeeding.
He's probably going to penalize him that way too.
Now, two things New York team related. One, Russ, Jan Kovac. Boy, that lasted a long time.
This though. If you remember, I said the minute they sent him down, he was going to leave.
Yeah, apparently the party town known as Bridgeport, Connecticut, he didn't like it too much because, I mean, I don't know if there's a deal in the KHL, but I'm sure we'll probably hear within 24 to 48 hours.
With Bridgeport's a
I know, I'm kidding.
I know. This has everything to do with the same thing as Shipachyov. These guys want to either play in the NHL or play back in the KHL. They don't want to play in the AHL.
You can't get that assurance, but you can sit there and say, well, if they don't play, I'll just go back.
No,
right.
I don't know if I agree to this statement. I can't remember. It was a noted writer on that mentioned on Twitter that said that good luck trying to get Kaprizov, or I think it was another guy named Gusev who's doing pretty well in the KHL. Good luck trying to get them to come over to the NHL because. But the thing is, players like that, if they're good enough to play in the NHL, they'll play. It's like this guy, what was he, 27, 28 years old? I mean, it was a shot in the dark and he got sent to the AHL and he didn't want to play in the AHL, so he's going back to the K. I don't think it's going to stop.
The problem with this is the Islanders aren't good enough that you shouldn't have let him hang out in the NHL this year with your team when he looked good in preseason to see what you have. It doesn't really matter if he's not doing what you expect.
No, I disagree with that. I totally disagree with that because
come on.
No, really, seriously, no. Because if you're Trotz and Trotz and Lou are trying to create like a culture. This is the guy. Remember, Trotz is the Radulov guy. Like this is the guy. There's no question that they are going to. This had to be something more beyond just his play on the ice. There had to be some kind of arrogance or something that he wasn't listening to. Because if it's just the play on the ice, I'm with you 100%. But I can't imagine with Trotz that it was. I think it was something to do with.
Aaron Trotz gets things wrong too, just because you
want to. But I you gotta trust them on things like this. I think because, I think between the two of them, well, maybe. I mean, we don't know. I don't know yet. I haven't talked. I know last year I talked to people in the Vegas situation, right? And there were definitely reasons for Shipachyov or whatever it was to get. There were reasons that had to do with attitude that caused that to fall apart. I can't help but think this is heading that same direction.
Well, the other thing was, and I was a little taken aback by this, Russ, was the word that Kevin Shattenkirk is going to be a healthy scratch in the Rangers' next game. Now, he's on year 2, I believe, of a 4-year deal making close to $7 million. And we know the direction the Rangers are going in terms of rebuild. I mean, he's not raising a hissy fit about it, but I mean, if that's the direction that they're going, I don't know if they're trying to just get away. This is a wake up call or what? But I mean,
you made the point, Mike. You made the exact point that I would make in this is that he's on year 2 of a 7-year contract, and
no, 4-year contract.
Year 2 of a 4-year contract or whatever it is. When a guy is pretty secure, and that is still pretty secure, because he still has 2 more years after this year. The only thing you can do is ice time. That's all you can do, right? So
right. But here's why I think it happened. It did look like he was floating quite a bit last game. He's not putting up offensive numbers like you would expect. He's not rushing the puck like you would expect. And Anthony DeAngelo came in and had a 2-point game. Okay. There's no way on this earth that you could keep that guy sitting on the bench when Shattenkirk's playing this lousy and Adam McQuaid's still in the lineup. And that's really, and Neil Pionk as well. That's really what it boils down to. And this is why signing Adam McQuaid was a problem, because you're holding back DeAngelo and his offensive ability, where this could be a building year for him, where next year you could have a 50-point defenseman there. But again, this part of the equation, they looked at Shattenkirk and said, well, if DeAngelo's going to put up points like this, Kevin, you're going to sit. And I don't blame Quinn for doing it.
Yeah,
I think, and also he's definitely trying to put a new system in. And if Shattenkirk isn't working on that, I mean, like whether you believe or like these college systems where you have to, I don't know, like we talked about with with Hackstall is the horrible system of the fact that you don't let your skill players carry the puck, whether you like it or not. That's the system, right? So,
and remember, he took less, and he took less years to come to the Rangers.
It doesn't matter. It can't matter. It can't matter. It can't matter.
No, it does. It does matter to the player, Rack.
It matters to the player, but that doesn't mean you have a mulligan of if you're if you're doing something the coach doesn't want you to do. I mean, that's like, I hate when we talk about contracts in situations like this because
they are a factor, though.
If it is a factor, then your team is screwed. Put it that way.
You can't have $7 million sitting in the press box.
No, but if you're going to win a Stanley Cup with $7 million in the press box, you put $7 million in the press box.
Well, and that's why I wanted to ask Russ. It's like, I mean, he wanted to come to the Rangers. The Rangers were a competitive team at the point that he signed with them. They're not a competitive team now. They're in a rebuild mode. I mean, does this mean that maybe at the deadline he's somebody that?
I'm not sure of that. I still, like I said, I still think the plan underneath the plan is to get bolstered up this summer and maybe start competing next year.
Yeah.
Before Lundqvist is too old. But the thing is with this is, I think Shattenkirk, and I've covered him for a long time. Look, he's not used to the partners he's playing with. It is a new system. And he is not the best defensive defenseman. We know this. So all of the things have piled up on him now, and it's probably more than he expected. So he's earned this benching, and he knows it, and he's taken it in stride. He's a great guy, and he knows the deal. He'll get back in there. But, look, we saw this happen with Tom Pody when he was a Ranger. He was a very gifted offensive defenseman as well. Sometimes the wrong change is made for that player, like, different coach, different system, different partners, and it does affect the guy.
Well, I wanted to ask, because you had written this morning about Montreal and Buffalo and Darnell Nurse, and I mean the Montreal situation right now. The strange one is Carl Alsner, who they signed to a long-term deal.
Yeah, they're sitting them again.
Right. Healthy scratch the first couple games, and I'm like, okay, he didn't play that badly to be scratched. I'm wondering if this is a scenario where, again, another rebuilding team with a guy signed long term, and they're looking maybe to say, okay, we know there are teams out there that are looking for defensemen. Maybe if we send this signal, the rest of the league will say, okay, what do you want for Carl Alsner? And then there's a potential trade. I mean, I don't know.
It could be. I mean, I think that there's definitely. With Montreal, there's a sense that, okay, we're doing better than we thought we would with these young kids. So we're going to run with that. And because that's a big thing for Montreal to actually do that is a big deal, right? Because the way that team's covered, the way that team's analyzed left and right, I get a sense of that. And so they're going to stay with that. And then Alsner sort of represents a lot of what went wrong last year. He's kind of like a symbol to that, and unless he's going to turn things around quickly, it's going to be a problem. I think that.
I mean, sometimes a guy is not a fit in a certain place. Carl Alsner can play in this league, and I've interviewed him quite a bit. I like Carl Alsner. I just think sometimes you go to a market and it doesn't work, and I think that's exactly what Bergevin has done here. And they're probably talking to the Leafs and a bunch of other teams, and they're probably seeing what they could get for him.
Yeah, I think that's true. Now I want Peter to tell me something here. What is wrong with this? All right. Besides the ad on the right-hand side.
What is wrong with this? The Western Conference champs.
They weren't the regular season champs. The regular season Western Conference champion banner. That to me was like, I mean, I'm like, no one loves the Predators, and everybody who works there and everybody who's involved with this organization more than I do. But this, and I think they've gotten past this kind of a thing. Like, this seems like something that the President's Trophy is, of course, if you win the President's Trophy, you're always going to have the regular season Western Conference champion banner, right? So if you have one,
I have never seen anyone hang up a conference championship banner unless they won the conference championship in the playoffs.
The playoffs, right?
Out of the conference in the playoffs, you hang the banner.
As I saw this getting raised last night, Eck was showing me, I was shaking my head. I was like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, this is ODing on banners.
Then again, we do have teams that put up divisional banners, right, all the time.
Sure.
But does all that? I wonder. I mean, and I like divisional banners. I think divisional banners are cool because that's something.
When you're division, it's a big deal.
But so why is the Western Conference any different?
It's not. It should have been the Vegas Knights get to raise a Western Conference championship banner, not the Nashville Predators.
Does this feel like a little passive aggressive? Do you think?
But it says regular. It says regular season. That's the thing. The thing is like it's all encompassing here. The President's Trophy means you finish first in your division, first in your conference. You say that. Maybe you say that in small writing underneath President's Trophy. You don't make a separate friggin' banner for it.
Here's the solution.
Right.
Why doesn't the league dictate what you can hang up when it comes to these things?
Agreed.
There's the solution. And tradition says you don't.
No, the league already dictates too much. I disagree.
No, I don't think I'm.
No, I don't have a problem with you want to hang players up
your league. I'm sorry,
your banner of fame or whatever. But this is saying you achieve something against the rest of the league. That needs to be mandated.
I mean, to me, this is something that, okay, if the Vegas Golden Knights had somehow won the Western Conference regular season title, but then, got eliminated in the first round or whatever, I could see, because it's an expansion team, but the Predators have won the Western Conference regular season title before. If you want to really celebrate that, you get your one banner for your division, your one banner for your rest, and you just add another year to it, right? Like you've seen teams do that, like this is the Patrick Division champions. In Philadelphia, they have Patrick Division champions, and then like a bunch of the years after it, right? But not a single banner for each.
Something for the fans, right? But it's just, if I were a player and I wanted to chirp in warmups, I would say, hey, that's a great banner to somebody on that team, and they would not like that.
I'm waiting for the next game. I'm waiting for the next game at KeyBank Center for the Buffalo Sabres to raise their 2018 winner of the draft lottery banner.
Right. It's almost like that. Yeah. No, I know. I really was. I think the Predators are better than this, and I think that they need to. But
it's a mistake of understanding how this is done. And look, I know I've railed against the idea of traditions and things like that. The long-standing tradition has always been, it used to be, you raised the Campbell Conference and the Wales Conference banner if you came out of those conferences to play for the Stanley Cup. Right. Period. Dot. The end. Now it is the Western Conference. Now it is the Eastern Conference. You raise it if you come out to play for the Stanley Cup. Period. Dot. The end.
And that's
and you get the President's Trophy. That's it.
And that's all I meant by the league controlling this, because in terms of there's only one Eastern Conference champion, the Washington Capitals, and maybe they won't even put that up because they won the Stanley Cup. But
the team will put up like we had the first half best record in the Metro.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Lockout year champion. I know.
The top power play champion. There you go.
Right.
Nobody's a champion in that year, Rick.
No, I mean, so that's quickly. The other thing, the other beef I had last night was this, and it happened during the Flyers Sharks game. So we'll talk about the Flyers Sharks a little bit. Was
there Brian Elliott let in a goal? Oh,
no, talking about this game at all gives it more credit than it deserves, right? But let's just get into it. So the one thing, and it's funny because you can talk about how terrible the Flyers were and how Elliott was, and Elliott actually made a bunch of good saves in the first period, which
he made some highlight reel saves.
But the whole thing is, it's momentum saves. We talked about like that. After the Flyers play really good for the first 3 to 4 minutes, you can't give up that 2-on-1 goal with your legs wide open and give all that space to a player of Logan Couture's skill. It's just you're going to get killed, right? And that just deflated the Flyers, and then they scored 11 seconds later, and then that was it, right? But so after they score 2 goals in 11 seconds, after your team has dominated the entire beginning of the game, the Flyers are buzzing, the arena's buzzing, everything's great. This is when a coach should call a timeout, right? To me, this is when Hackstall should call a timeout, and yet the timeout is. I want to know how many times the timeout is being called right now, because I think it's become invisible because of this stupid
review
concept of it being tied to a review.
Yes.
You can't, and so therefore. We might as well just get rid of it. To me, it's it is absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's just say you can only challenge one play in the game. Can we just say that? That's fine.
And then timeouts are timeouts.
If you challenge a play and you miss on that challenge, you can't challenge again. That's all. That's all we need to say. But that doesn't take away your timeout, which to me is was a part of the game. We grew up. I don't know when the timeout was instituted, but it wasn't when we were kids. There weren't timeouts in the NHL, But I like the timeout.
Go back, like Laviolette is the coach for the Flyers that used them very effectively,
and to a ridiculous method at points, but still he used it, and there is something to it. It was actually an exciting part of the game. If the other team called a timeout, when they were that was like the fans were like, yeah, we made him call a timeout, you know.
Yep.
It's a part of the game that's exciting. It's a part of the game that's strategy. And now it's like there is so little that coaches honestly do on the bench. And this is the one thing that they could actually do to affect the game. I mean, they throw the lines in, but honestly, they'll all tell you that, you know, that doesn't matter as much as you think it would. But this is actually a time when they can bring the team together and embarrass the team and say, we called a timeout because we got to get our act together. And yet, are any timeouts being called in the NHL? Any?
Well,
I haven't seen any.
I haven't seen any, but it's very rare. And this happened last night in Toronto Dallas game. John Klingberg scored a goal to make it 5-4. There was a little bit of a dispute, but most people thought it was a goal. And Babcock called for the review at the specific time that his team was, they had a 5-2 lead and they'd given up 2 goals at the end of the second, early third. So he used it in a way as a timeout to get the review. It sort of had a dual purpose. I don't think he thought that the goal was going to be overturned, but he figured that the review was going to take longer than the timeout. So there's a little strategy there.
We need to separate these times. There's no reason. This is like, you know, you ate a hot dog because you drove a Ford to work. You know, like there is no reason that these are connected together. We have to understand that timeouts and reviews to get plays right are not at all married to each other. Besides for the fact that they have been, you know, this awful like union.
Here's a real subject though. When you're talking about the Flyers, I think Dave Haxtell's job is in trouble because there is a game that was screaming for Shane Gostisbehere to be able to go up the ice, into the offensive zone on his own, and make plays, and he wasn't allowed to do it.
Interesting, Russ, because I don't think a lot of Flyers fans or even hockey fans realize that how strict this is, this Haxtell thing.
Yeah.
But
Tortorella has admitted it. He's come out and admitted that players can't do that.
Right, that you're not allowed to carry the puck up the ice. So what you've done by doing this is, like, you know, you have Gostisbehere always giving the puck to Provorov.
Right.
You have Voracek always giving the puck to Giroux. Like there's certain, you know, Voracek's at his best when he's skating the puck up the ice. That's why you have him, you know, like, and, you know, and the Sharks, I mean, this was just what the Sharks ordered, obviously, because they had, you know, you saw before watching the Sharks game before that, you would see, you know, the Sharks they're all trying to get the puck to Karlsson all the time because Karlsson's used to having the puck. And we talked a lot last year about the fact that the problem some teams were having with going into the Karlsson thing was that you would be bringing a player into that wants the puck all the time, and that you have other players that want to skate the puck up. And the Sharks, like, they have star players, but no one of the level of like an Erik Karlsson in their heads. So they're all throwing the puck to him, and that really is not working for the Sharks.
Yeah, but that's something you can get out of. I mean,
this was a bad formula. Like, we know the Flyers stink against the Sharks, but when you know you're facing a team that has Karlsson, and you know that they just got killed by the Islanders, and Brett Burns is there, and you're basically still making Gostisbehere go up the ice and pass the Provorov off the wall. Karlsson and Burns were wise to it the whole game, and basically they kept moving up, and they kept stealing the puck and getting the puck right away, getting it quickly back to the Flyers zone. Their defense can't set up, and they couldn't set up the entire game, and that's coaching. And this is where I think Dave Haxtell is going to run into a problem, because if they lose a few in a row here, defense-wise, he hasn't lost anybody. Matter of fact, Ron Hextall's tried to improve it. Does he still have young players there? Yeah. Is it perfect? No. And Gudas got banged up a little yesterday with the elbow, but at the end of the day, he's still got a pretty good defense, and that was maybe the worst defensive effort we've seen under his regime.
Oh, it really looked like Gostisbehere and Provorov had never met each other before. It was just like insane. I mean, they play together all the time, and it was really, and the forwards coming back they weren't coming back. They weren't playing shit. They weren't playing hard. And there's a real sense of, you know, with Haxtell, you just don't know what he is really doing. So it's very unsettling, because he doesn't tell the media anything of interest ever. So you don't know. And then you sit in a situation like, you know, they come out the first period, they're down 4-0. The first shift of the second period, Giroux gets the puck. He's skating down the left side, and he's got a clear path to the net where he could actually, and he's got a player he's got to fight off, but he could actually take the puck to the net, which after you've just been killed in the first period and you're Claude freaking Giroux, you should do. You should take the puck to the net, and instead he tries to pass it backwards, and the player he passes it to brings himself offside. And it's just one of these moments of like, okay, how is a coach not telling his players to take the puck to the net and if they are, I mean, Giroux should do that anyway. But how is that possible? How
Here's
is
the thing: I don't see anybody putting up like a great Hackstall quote from last night. But there's a quote from Gossespierre that says, "I feel so effing bad for Moose. Said it could have been 7-0 after one. Said it is what it is, but it's ridiculous." And he said, "I mean, it's a little ridiculous." And so he knows this team played like dog.
Oh yeah. No, they know, and they're
doing about it.
Yeah, what is the coach doing about it, and where are we going? I mean, and of course, the elephant in the room is the fact that you gave up 8 goals, and where is Carter Hart?
This game counts like the equivalent of 5 games.
No, Mike. I'm not saying that I am not saying that I think Carter Hart should be brought up, but you have to understand that you have a building with a team that has a playoff caliber offense and a playoff caliber defense, and you've got people paying thousands of dollars, and there's no question that Carter Hart's name is being rumbled throughout the entire building all the time.
And that's all fine and good, but if you want the fans to run the organization and call up a 20-year-old kid, unless he stands on his head in Lehigh Valley, it's absolutely dumbass to call up Carter Hart when he's not ready. He's a guy who can be your goaltender for the next 10 to 12 years. You don't rush players like that. Carey Price played in the AHL.
No, I know, and then so they've got Calvin Pickard, right?
And Calvin Pickard is a good NHL backup. He's nothing more than that.
He's sitting on the bench, and and he's not. I guess he's probably going to play tonight because that's the law.
No, he is playing tonight. Pickard.
He is, right? And that was the plan all along. So because that's the plan all along, you leave Elliott in for 8 goals. I mean, just like that's the other thing. Like, what message does that send to your team? What message does that send to Elliott?
That's analytics, Zach. That's what it is.
But analytics don't. That's where analytics need to be freaking.
I agree.
That's where analytics have to be thrown out the window.
Okay, well here's something that at least Hackstall admitted, but again, I think it's too late for this. I think Brian got hung out to dry on it. Should have gotten him out there probably after the second. We all expected that.
Yeah. But that's analytics tells teams that goaltenders who are playing back-to-back, even if it's probably one period, they consider that back-to-back, that their save percentage goes down in the second game, and that's the reason why they let Elliott suck up 8 goals.
And that's a fantastic reason to you're spending all this time to not screw up Carter Hart, and yet you're willing to leave Elliott in for 8 goals,
and that is
because analytics says that the better save percentage. I mean, that is absolutely insane. I mean,
it's insane because it's a long season, and we know Elliott has had bouts of confidence, and he admitted every man should be better on the team, and so should he, but he should also get a mental break when it's clear he doesn't have it on a given night, and he's given all he can. He made 4 amazing saves, but
if it's not the goalie's fault, that's all the more reason to pull him. I've always been a fan of that, because if it is, if you want to make him, if you want to say you screwed up, I want you to suffer through 8 goals. That's not a way to treat a goaltender. Like a way, because big goalies are too weird and too quirky to do that. Like you need to get the goalie out of there and and say you're doing that, and tell the team, I'm pulling him because you guys suck, and that's on you. And Elliott understands that. He's a goalie. He's been around before. He knows that. But when you do it this way, Peter, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, look, the Flyers and goaltending. I mean,
I know, but
it never ends.
All the time in other
this is different. This is more about.
It's more like this general feeling of like, okay.
I know, but it just falls into the Flyers and goaltending. Like it really does.
I
it's
know.
The same continued saga. And you know what? I used to think the Canucks, being a Canucks fan all my life and stuff, I used to think they were a goaltending graveyard. And then Philadelphia comes on your radar, and you realize they're like the same 2 teams. They just have the same issues over and over again, and they solve it temporarily, and then
St. Louis
again. Oh, and St. Louis.
Right.
But here's the thing: I think Hackstall and Ron have to find a way to start giving Carter Hart some looks. They've got to find a way to get him in and see what's there, and just see how he manages the NHL game. You have to find a way. So if there's an injury or something, call him up, give him a look, plan a start, let him be around the team, let him understand
They're
things.
afraid to do that because he will end up being, he could potentially. So because there's almost like a no win in their mind, I think, because if he comes up and does really well, then you risk.
You put him back down,
right?
Exactly when, and he's got to earn his time. Part of this is you can't hand these guys everything. How many mistakes have we seen teams make over the years by not being firm on what they're trying to do with their players?
Oh, look at Hellebuck. They brought him up too early and they sent him back. And and Russ, you've seen this with tons of other goalies, but you can put it on defensemen. You can put it on forwards too.
Yeah.
And we've seen what's happened in Edmonton because they need a hope all the time. They keep rushing guys early who weren't ready where they could have used.
Peter? It's easier for a forward to fit in at a younger age because if you want to put a guy who's a center on the wing, it's so much easier. A goalie, you got nowhere to go.
You got nowhere to go. It's the ultimate job to fail at because you sit there and you always look bad, even when you're not.
Gone are the days that you throw in Tom Barrasso, who played at Acton Boxborough High School in Boston, outside of Boston, into the Buffalo Sabres net, and he wins the Calder. Those days don't happen anymore. Like I said, Carey Price was a top 5 pick, and he played a full year in the AHL and won a Calder Cup before he played for the Canadiens. And
the days are over too, Mike. The days are over where the coach puts in the backup because he thinks the team will play tougher in front of him. That doesn't happen anymore either.
Agreed. Let's touch on one thing before we end the show. The injury to Matt Murray is a big problem for the Penguins, and not only because it's concussion related, and he's had a couple before, but Russ, they didn't go out and get themselves a veteran backup. Tristan Jarry is coming off an injury right now. It's Jarry and Casey DeSmith. That's not good.
But Casey DeSmith they used already. So it's not horrible. At least he has some experience. Like they're going to take it on the chin for a couple games, and when Jerry's ready, he'll be ready. But you know that Rutherford will go and get a goalie.
I've heard
he will.
That they went and they actually did talk to Steve Mason, but that it sounds like Mason is just not feeling like he's healthy enough to play in the NHL anymore. Like which is a shame, because but they did reach out to him. I was told. And that makes sense. I mean, that's where you would go, right? Because he's
right. And we right now we have 2 scenarios playing out with 2 players who drew a lot of interest from NHL teams. One in Mason and the other one in Rick Nash. And the whole thing yesterday, there was one report that said Nash was going to file his retirement papers. Then his agent came out and said he was not going to do that, but everything is status quo. Yeah. And Aaron Portzline from The Athletic came out and said that he had talked to the Blue Jackets, and he's living in Columbus, so that if he does come back, it might be the Blue Jackets. But everything is up in the air right now, and it's all based on the fact that they don't feel well enough to play.
Or it's going to be a Forsberg comeback. Right now he likes it with his kid. He will spend a certain amount of time. It'll get past the All-Star break, and then it'll be like, hey, you know what, Columbus, I'm going to come and help you.
I've been
after we trade Panarin.
I've been trying to not talk about this Nash thing because I just feel like Nash has been just the soap opera of my life for the last 10 years in various forms. For what he brings to he's a great player, but for what he actually brings to the game, he has definitely dominated more of my time than anyone. And I mean, he really is he's not as good as the amount of energy I put into him. I really feel like I've always felt that way about him.
Well, I think at this point now he's a big third liner. I don't think he's a 30-goal scorer anymore. I think he's if he comes and signs with Columbus or signs with Boston or Toronto, and he's going to be a third-line guy. He's not going to be a top 6 forward.
I mean, look, Torts knows what he's getting in him, but the idea is he's getting a guy that can play very good defensively. There won't be that many offensive expectations for him. And like you said, if they lose Panarin, this is a heck of a guy to get in there, and that could be the ultimate plan.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not for them. I mean, that's not the way they should go. And Torts and Nash did not exactly work out well. If I recall, Torts and Nash in New York was not exactly the greatest thing ever to happen.
It doesn't matter, but also they're going to get something good for Panarin. That's going to go in the lineup too.
No, they'll get something for Panarin. They will. They make that trade. But tonight, of course, some fun games tonight. We'll see if it's in a similar way. I bet I wouldn't be shocked if the Flyers completely took apart the Senators tonight out of frustration after that game last night. But
well, yeah, that's Giroux's at home. The Senators are, not that good.
Yeah, he always plays well there.
He should, but I will tell you this. This is a warning. If the Senators somehow win this game and win it decisively, I think the Hackstall watch is on. I really do.
I think you could be right about that. I think that I don't know. I mean, and that's what some people in the chat room.
How many games was it Peter Laviolette was in one season when he got fired?
That was very different, though.
So who's around? So here's the thing. Let's just play a little fun. If the Hackstall watch is about to begin, who's a coach out there right now that you'd bring in for the Flyers?
Well, I think Gordon would get the interim because he's been a coach in the NHL and he's been in that organization for years now. And so I think he's the natural guy to bring in there because I think and Gordon's good. Like if you've ever spoken to him, he knows hockey. I mean, don't go by when he was the Islanders coach because I think things were askew for him there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's where they would go to, and they would stay in house, and at least temporarily.
Jack Capuano's available.
He's
as an assistant. They would bring in somebody else as an assistant. They probably would ask Gordon, "Who would you like as an assistant?"
Yeah, you'd have to. I don't know. I don't know that it's there yet, Russ. I think, but I still think we're about a month away.
It's the Corporation Act, and the one thing I was noticing yesterday is corporations like their big parties, their showiness, and this was a big celebration for their home game, right? And they put a lot into it. They even put it into it to the point where they had gritty cupcakes for the media. When the media is writing about one of the worst games they've ever seen the Flyers play, I think it counts tenfold. I really do.
No, it definitely was a huge embarrassment. And when you talk to the Flyers people around, they were really embarrassed. And the Flyers do not take embarrassment well at all. So we'll see.
Yeah, the one
it reminds me of a long time ago of Scoop Cooper when I forget Mike Rathje was playing his last game as a Flyer and made it some really terrible play because he was hurt and he was trying his best.
Oh yeah, he was really banged up.
He didn't play anymore. And he made a bad play at the end of the game against, I also believe it was the San Jose Sharks, oddly enough. And as we're walking out, Scoop Cooper, who's been with the Flyers since 1967, just turns to me and says, "That is the kind of game that ends careers."
Yeah,
and that's what it felt like last night with the Flyers. To a degree, like that, it was that ugly almost. So, anything else before we get out of here?
Nope.
We're all good. All right, guys. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Enjoy the games tonight. We got the rematch of the Stanley Cup Championship tonight, actually. So there's that. We'll talk to you soon.